Wedding dresses often cost into the thousands of dollars, so you'd expect them to be good quality, right? Well, today I'm going to show you several different wedding dresses, and you're going to hear from a bridal alteration specialist to get the good, the bad, and the ugly on this very expensive item of clothing. I got my hands on a gown from David's Bridal to give you an up-close and personal look at some of the problems that many wedding dresses have, but let's hear from a professional first. Hi Rebecca, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me today. So tell me where we are and a little bit about yourself.
For sure. So we're at Never Knew I Needed in Ottawa, Ontario, and it's the one-stop wedding shop. What's interesting about the gowns is that all of them are new. They're samples from other wedding boutiques that they then take and they can sign. So none of them have ever been altered before, which is what I do here. So I am a stylist, a content creator, and I've been doing wedding alterations for about 10 years now.
So in your opinion, does higher price correlate to higher quality when it comes to wedding dresses?
In my opinion, no. I have done work now on over 1,000 wedding dresses over the years, and higher price can sometimes mean higher qualities, but it can also mean absolutely nothing other than it is higher price. This dress is original retail was around 2,700 US, so 32 Canadian. And you can actually see, again, like this has never been worn, it's never been altered, but the actual quality of the fabric is quite low. And you can see all that pilling that's happened there just from being in the racks, touching
That's
other
crazy.
dresses. This fabric, this is quite a large dress, you can see.
Yep.
And it has a one shoulder detail, but you can actually see here, even without a body underneath, it is going to pucker and wrinkle.
Right.
And no amount of steaming, no amount of ironing. Not that I ever recommend you iron a wedding dress, please.
That's good advice.
I have seen horror stories. It will never be straight. Like no matter how, like you have to take this off. You can actually see that it's not straight.
Wow, yeah.
So I would have to take this off, cut it down, and re-sew it to get it to lay flat. And the moment with this type of fabric, and you can actually hear it.
Yeah, you totally can.
Like, feel that?
Yeah, that does not feel like it would be nice to wear.
If it sounds like plastic, it means like it's probably plastic.
First of all, it is plastic.
It is plastic. Most of the time, like almost with nearly every wedding dress you buy right now, it is going to be a mix of polyester and nylon. They're going to hide their fabric content by calling it things like French crepe and crushed satin, which, you know, if you know anything about sewing, these are not real words.
Yeah, there's not a fiber content.
But things like this, like as soon as I take this apart, unfortunately, with this type of fiber, which I have used quite a bit, it is just going to shred.
Ugh.
And so what I do when I take this apart is either, if I have the seam allowance, I'll serge it.
Okay.
So that it stops fraying.
That's smart.
If I don't have the seam allowance, what I have to do is take a lighter and I will melt the edges so that it stops fraying. But it is really complicated and frustrating fabric to work with because of the nature of the fiber.
And how much was that one retail value?
This one doesn't actually even say the original price, but the consignment price is $2,000.
Okay. Okay, so she wasn't cheap.
She wasn't cheap. She would have been one of the most expensive dresses, and she's roughly, I would guess, anywhere between $25,000 and $3,000.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the interconstruction.
So you can actually see, now again, some natural wear and tear. Yeah. One of the most interesting things about bridal now is that all of these buttons are plastic. They used to be metal. They used to have a metal shank, and now they all have plastic shanks. But you can see on the inside, especially, so this is the outside of the dress, just to remind you. So there's a layer of pleated fabric that's all been tacked down. And when you have this on a body, it'll be the actual shape that holds it up.
Yep.
But what's really beautiful is on the inside, now the bust cup is in here. So they have a bunch of boning. And then what I really do appreciate though about any of this strapless gowns is having this silicone layer, because it does help keep it up, which makes the bride feel more comfortable.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Now, the thing is, you have all of these pieces of boning that are going to do very little to keep the weight of this dress up because it is plastic, because there's not a lot going on the inside, compared to something like a fully boned corset that was designed for you. So it just means that with a dress like this, you're going to need different set of undergarments. And that's a whole other conversation. But with any bridal gown, expect to be wearing a certain level of undergarments that are not pretty, that are there to help keep the dress up. Things like stickies that are sticky on both sides are a great example of just a little extra support.
I just want to note that interconstruction to hold the dress up isn't only applicable to strapless gowns. I bought this gown from David's Bridal for 1,400 Canadian, and it has these tiny little straps to hold up the whole dress, which don't look like they're that securely attached to begin with, and this boning really isn't going to do much of anything. A really well-made dress would have a waist stay to hold up the weight of the skirt and take a lot of the pressure off the top of the dress. Here's a picture of one posted by Renegade Bridal. They're located in Texas. As you can see here, there is no waist stay, so if you want to wear a dress like this, the right undergarments, as Rebecca mentioned, are going to be crucial so that you don't have the straps digging into your shoulders painfully or even breaking.
So sometimes with wedding dresses, you'll also find that lace has a raw head, and this one has actually been cut. You can tell with a bit of, call it dull shears. Something like this compared to something like this, where we see this is how we would consider lace, like, quote unquote, properly finished compared to this, right? So here you still see the tool. What they could have done is cut around all of the lace to get that sort of scalloped edge finish. Now, this is an interesting dress because it's a black wedding dress, and you can actually tell at the bottom here how beautifully finished that was on the edge. Now, this is a Canadian designer, so it means, though, that, unfortunately, to keep the cost somewhat reasonable, we are playing with finishes on the inside, if I can find the center side seam, here we go, that are fully unfinished. So I know it's hard to see because it's black, but you can see here that they're just been fully finished. There's not even a serge edge in here, so it means
just raw.
That because you can actually see that they want to come apart, that if it comes apart too much, over time it will wear and it will create a hole and you have to make it smaller.
Right.
So things like that.
And how much does that one cost?
This one originally retailed for around $2,200.
Okay. Janky hems are seemingly somewhat common on wedding dresses. So what do you do if you want a really high quality dress?
The best quality work that I've seen has honestly come from small local designers where they're walking you through every step of the process. The downside of that is that you never get a bridal moment because you're designing your gown and you're going through all of the steps of creating a gown from scratch, which means that you never really get the, oh my God, this is the one feeling. When it comes down to it, you're never going to get artisan made from a mass production period.
So do you have any advice for brides-to-be who are shopping for a dress?
Oh, I have so much advice. Where do you want me to start? One, go in with a budget that includes around $500 to $700 for alterations, around $500 to $700 for extras. This could be gloves, it could be veils, it could be anything extra you want for your overall look, hair pieces, things like that. So understanding that there is about, call it $1,500 extras, what does that leave you with for your gown cost? And don't go over it. I promise you there's a wedding dress for every budget and it's going to make you feel beautiful. When it comes to alterations, I have a lot of advice. Where if you are petite, a dress like this that has no waistline is going to be extremely challenging to get your proportions to fit. So I wouldn't recommend this unless you have never had a problem shopping ever in your life. Something like this for someone who is petite is actually going to be really helpful because we can take the waist up and make this down so it fits you. You can also find wedding dresses that are a little bit out of the box. You don't have to think of, a sweetheart neckline with a large skirt. You can really get creative and let your personality shine when it comes to your wedding dress. Imagine your wedding dress is just an extended version of yourself. It's the version of yourself that you always kind of dreamed of being. Don't let something like this scare you if this is really what makes you happy and excited.
Thank you so much to Rebecca Rowe for letting me pick her brain, and to Never Knew I Needed for letting me film their beautiful dresses. If you have other ideas of videos like this that you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.